Hello, Milton Guy here. This is not a planned podcast. Actually, I should have done this a little earlier, but I had to sit back and weigh my feelings and exactly what they were and what I should say or what I shouldn't say. But I am disgusted and I'm damn mad. Excuse my language. I am angry. I have a picture of one day of a little child saying, "Mama, was my daddy or was my granddaddy one of those Magas?" What has happened that brought this about, this anger? Well, I want to tell you about it. That's what I'm talking about today. I remember when I was appointed to a new church, and I did this because of something that had happened in the past, early part of my ministry. But I would have the church meeting where mostly all the people were there, not just a business meeting, but a church meeting. And I would tell the new parishioners in some way I could take anything any unhappy parishioner threw at me. But you come at my wife or my children, that I would not take. And I lived by that oath. And my wife and children can tell you I did. And I did have to come to their aid on occasion. But people begin to know you do not mess with my wife and my kids, especially when I'm the ones being paid to be your pastor. And if I want to listen to your gripes, that's up to me. But I made that clear. Don't bring it to my wife and children. Those events in my life came crashing back to me. When I began to hear some remarks, texts, quotes from X or Twitter or whatever they call it today, about how they were making fun and taking pop shots at Tim Walz's son for his reaction at the Democratic National Convention when he made his acceptance speech for Vice President of the United States of America. You remember the scene. I hope you watched. I know J.D. Vance said that he would have little respect for you if he thought you had watched the vice presidential address on that night, accepting the nomination of the vice president of the United States. Yeah, that's what he said. These are the kind of people with whom we're dealing. I listen to all the speeches, Republican and Democrat. And I don't tell anybody not to listen to this group or this group. Matter of fact, just the opposite. I nearly beg sometimes, go listen to what they have to say. And then you come back and compare it to what we have to say. And then you check it out. But even Ann Coulter, one of the most disgusting human beings ever to call themselves a journalist, who has no problem taking pot shots at anybody for no good reason. And now she does it at a child. And let me just explain, if you didn't see it, when Tim Walz accepted the nomination, when he stood up there and made his speech, a very powerful speech, he included his family and the little boy. autistic, nonverbal, started crying and verbalizing with his lips, "I love you, Daddy." And he cried. And then all the things started coming from Maga, making fun of this little boy. Now, Ann Coulter, after her remarks about Tim Walsh's son, apologized. She said, after she found out that the young man is autistic, she apologized. Well, you know what? That is not sufficient. It didn't matter if the young man is autistic or not. He's a child. And he didn't sign up for your abuse, Ann Coulter, and you, Maga, and all the disgusting things all of you said about this young man. And you're so proud of it. You act like it's okay, that there's nothing wrong with what you said. And Ann Coulter's apology, as little as it is because he was autistic, I take it back. That's absolutely ridiculous. I would say in the pulpit, if you will, take out your Bibles and turn to the New Testament, the book of James, chapter 4, verse 6, where it says, "God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble." And also, does it not say somewhere in there, I think it's Matthew 19:14, where it says, "Suffer the little children to come unto me," and then says that such is the kingdom of heaven. And even goes on to say later on that, for anyone that would hinder, abuse one of these children are going to have serious consequences. It may not say are going to have serious consequences, but you will have serious consequences, because there are people like me, and there are a lot of us who think you're absolutely disgusting for even bringing this young man into it. And I hate even talking about it today. I mean, my God, is not this idea of suffering little children to come unto God, is that not one of the cornerstones of the faith? And I'm talking to you, Christians. And if you're not a Christian, I'm talking to you, Americans. Appealing to your very sense of duty and basic decency. My God, how could this happen? There's not a lot being said about it, and you know why? We don't want this young man brought into it any more than he has been already. And I don't know what Ann Coulter's faith is, but if it's one of the mainstream religions, she needs to go to that altar that they talk about so much, get on her knees and beg God to forgive her, if it's not one of those unforgivable sins. So why am I saying now? Why did this election just become so much more important? Something I didn't even realize until now. And it's because of the absolute, ungodly, more than cruel, unbelievable remarks concerning Tim Walsh's son after he reacted to his daddy's acceptance speech during the DNC. The proudness, the tears of joy, all brought on by his love for his daddy, and all the remarks by MAGA that came out of it. And that little scene brought out the worst of MAGA that I have seen thus far. If you're proud of yourself, then more power to you. I don't know how you could be. And I would be the same way if one of the candidates in the Republican Party's son had reacted the same way. I would have shed tears. It's a very, very lovely, lovely sight to see and to behold. And if you had anything in your heart except warmth because of a child's love for their parent, their daddy, their mama, something's not right with you. You know, when it was the country at risk, that was one thing, evil enough. When it was our democracy at risk, that too, very bad. When it was our institutions of faith at risk, very awful. When it was our lives at risk, well, those were some things that were, as I say, concerning, and something we need to be talking about, and something we need to be fighting for. But now it's moved to a different level. Our sense of decency, our integrity, our ability to love all, and even our children at risk. That is, if it's not too late for the latter for some. Given the cruelty dealt out by Trump supporters, MAGA, and allies since that event, it's so ungodly. I don't have the words to say how ungodly it is. You know, the event where a little boy cried tears of joy and pride because he loved his daddy. And you, Ann Coulter, and others reacted the way you did. We have something even more to worry about now than our country, our democracy, our very lives, and that is our basic dignity, our basic sense of what is right. I never believed, as I said, that this could happen. I never expected to hear the kind of things or see the writing of these kind of things. And I'm sure many others didn't either. It caught me by surprise. And that's why I say what we're losing now, what we're in danger of losing as a country, as a people, is our basic dignity. Our basic ideas and ideals of what is right and how to do unto another. That has become something placed on the line now. These people that could make these remarks, regardless of whether they knew the young man was autistic or not, that plays no part in it. These people that could do this, are these the people that you won't run this country or hate any part of it? These are the people that I believe one day some young man or some young lady is going to ask, Mama, was my daddy or my granddaddy one of those MAGAs? Right now, I have a sense of disgust and shame. And like I said, I want to puke. I shed tears when I witnessed that scene. And like I said, I'd have done so any other place. But I want to tell you, as many tears as I shed on that Thursday night, on that Wednesday night, on the night that Tim Walls made his speech and his daddy cried. As many tears as I shed watching that scene does not even come close to the tears that I shed after I read those remarks and heard those remarks from Trumpians and MAGAs. And I keep mentioning Ann Coulter. But there were a lot of Ann Coulters out there on that day. And I shed many tears, many more tears. And you know what? I don't know who's listening, but I hope your heart is so that you shed many tears at what they said about this young man and how they brought him into this. It's a disgrace to this country, and it is an abomination to the God that you Christians talk about so much. And you ask yourself, not what would Jesus do, but would Jesus have any part of a group who would not suffer the little children? I want to say goodbye. I'll be coming with another podcast later in the week. This is on my mind, and it was important. And I wanted to share my disgust with you. And like I say, I should have done it earlier, but I had to get over some of the anger. It may appear like I didn't get over a lot of it. But anyway, I want to mention my book, The Offspring of Ignorance. You can find it on Amazon. If you will, go out and buy it. I think you'll enjoy it. And my wife's book that I've been plugging, Leaving Small Town by Sue Guy, also to be found on Amazon. Go out and buy them. And like I say, if you can't buy mine, buy hers. It's a good book. If you will, give me a thumbs up if you can. Let me know you're listening. And let's try to put everything into perspective. November the 5th is coming up very soon. And I'm even more concerned today than when I thought our democracy was about to fall. Listen to those people that I've mentioned in the past, Tennessee Brando, the Midas Touch Network. Go to Fox and listen to what they have to say. You're not going to hear everything, but you can go to all the other places and piece it together, because Fox does not tell the truth a lot of the time, most of the time, and they don't tell the whole truth. You'll find it for yourself if you'll start watching them, if you're not already. But if you watch them, watch everything else. You're going to make a great discovery. And I say to you all, God bless you. If you will, subscribe to my podcast and those other names I mentioned. The more we subscribe, the more we can speak out. There's a lot on the line. The deadline, November the 5th. God help us. I love you all.